Thanks, Acting Deputy President. The Australian Greens believe that universal human rights are fundamental and must be respected for all people and in all countries. That principle informed my approach as the Greens Foreign Affairs spokesperson, and it continues to inform my views on foreign policy. I want to particularly note and thank Senator Skiljon, who is now the Greens Foreign Affairs spokesperson, for his important advocacy in this portfolio and the passion he has for justice and human rights around the world. I want to start tonight talking about human rights in foreign affairs, starting with Magnitsky legislation. The Magnitsky legislation that Australia has in place is something that I campaigned for strongly, including by introducing the Human Rights Targeted Sanctions Bill 2021. And I note there are a number of improvements in that bill that could still be incorporated into our current Magnitsky framework. Having campaigned for that legislation and for the imposition of targeted sanctions against leaders of the coup in Myanmar, it has been a relief to see the Australian government finally impose targeted sanctions against the leaders of the coup. It is much later than it should have been, but it is an important step, and one that brings Australia closer to being in line with a number of other countries who have rightly responded to the ongoing atrocities that are occurring in Myanmar by targeting those that are responsible for so much suffering. And I want to thank those community members right around Australia who kept the pressure before, during and after the election. And I also, again, want to particularly note the important work of my colleague, Senator Skiljon. I also note that the Australian government recently imposed targeted sanctions against key figures who have committed human rights violations in Iran. This is also an important step. And again, I want to thank those community members who have pushed incredibly hard for this. You know that your advocacy and your campaigning for justice makes a difference. I recently wrote to the Iranian ambassador in Australia notifying that I would be acting as a political sponsor for 3 young activists, Ali Jahangiri, Sina Mohammad Rezai and Mehdi Shirani. Tragically, these 3 young folk are facing execution under a system that is desperate to stamp out every trace of dissent and silence every opposing voice. And I want to acknowledge all of those campaigning outside and particularly inside Iran under the unified banner of women, life, freedom. For your courage and your conviction, we thank you.